Hello, this is Cotton Stoops, and today's video is an HTUC video on Barbadger, one of the newest Lumians in the Winter 2022 event of Lumian Legacy. So let's talk about it. It's actually pretty scary, so you're going to need to know the sets and the roles Barbadger can play, which I'll be talking about in this video, as well as the counters and checks and Barbadger's teammates, as well as its weaknesses and resistances. This video will teach you how to use and counter Barbadger. So the role that Barbadger plays is a very essential question to answer, and the reason that we can answer this question is with its base stats. Its base stats are really simple because its HP and range defense is really low. This means that Lumians that cannot hit Barbadger super effectively will still be hitting it hard if they are a range attacker, and of course don't use the range attack. It does have a decent speed tier, but the metagame is slowly being able to outspeed the speed tier even more, so you will only be able to outspeed the more slower walls, and its energy of 93 is pretty decent, but overall it's not going to be throwing out all the boosts because of its strong base power moves that I'll be talking about later. And its melee attack and melee defense is pretty good. While its melee attack is a bit lower than other Lumians like Totem, it's going to be noticeably hitting a lot more harder, and I'll be explaining that later. And its melee defense of 101 is pretty good, but it is noticeably a lot weaker than other melee attacking Lumians because of its HP stat. What role does Barbadger play? This is a simple question. It is a powerful wall breaker with a lot of potential to set up, specifically on melee attacking Lumians. It has a short time on the field, so you might want to use some pivots. So with that out of the way, let's talk about Barbadger's defensive typing. Barbadger's typing is Ice and Brawler, and its 4 resistances is Ice, Air, Typeless, and Bug. You actually do 4 times resist Ice, which is pretty good, and your Air, Typeless, and Bug resistances are pretty decent. Bug types like the Rising Garbantus and Harvestect is good to switch in on. Air types like Zeppelin, Stratosaur, Witrix, Demare, and some others is pretty good to switch in on as well. And typeless types are not really common, but I guess you could count Taoshidu. And you do have 6 weaknesses to Fire, Metal, Brawler, Spirit, Mind, and Toxic. Fire types like Searnite and Pyrolin are great stuff you should be watching out for. Metal types like Stratosaur, Tyrex, Valkyrie, Protogon, and much more metal types will be common. Brawl types like other Barbadgers and probably some Wrestlins and C.B.Os. Spirit types like Vesperatu, which is rising a lot higher right now. Fire types like Shachi, Metatone, Ferroglyph, the Cosmiors, and finally toxic types like Barblast and some other stuff will be your main weaknesses. Do note that since your defenses are a lot lower, these weaknesses will seem a lot more stronger than they are right now, so just take a note of that. With that out of the way, let's talk about Barbadger's sets. The only Barbadger set that I'll be talking about is the Cleaner / Wall Breaker set. It can only be a cleaner in slower teams, so don't use the Cleaner, just use this as a Wall Breaker. The ability will be Dauntless or a Mysterious Cloak. Dauntless will be able to boost your attacking stats even higher when the opponent can hit you super effectively. This is pretty niche, but this can be good if you are running boots so you can outspeed them. Mysterious Cloak is also decent because you do not want to get status, which is pretty great. Its personality is very robust, or very brawny actually, and clumsy and foolish. You could opt for a brawny nimble, but obviously very brawny is a lot more better for you to hit a lot more harder because that melee attack set is not doing you any favors. Broad Boost, Ice Hammer, and Rogue Assault will be your main 3 moves. I'll be commenting down below the 4th move because I cannot find whatever that is. You can run Temp and probably some other stuff like Dodge, but I'm not pretty sure on what the 4th move should be. Let me know in the comments. The Martial Shell, Brawler Essence, and Power Cuffs will be your 3 main items. Personally, I'm going to run Brawler Essence or the Power Cuffs because this set is of course Power Cuff trained into the energy, while Martial Shell or the Essence is fine. The TP's 8 energy will let you use 1 Broad Boost, 1 Ice Hammer, and 3 Rogue Assaults with the Power Cuffs, but if you do not want to run that, then just run 0 energy and you could invest the rest into HP. 192 lets you outspeed a very brawny max speed C.B.O, and 200 melee attack is to hit as hard as possible. 8 Belly defense is leftovers. You can put this anywhere, but this is just it. So with that out of the way, let's talk about Barbadger's counters and checks as well as its teammates. The defensive counters and checks is very simple, but not a lot. Stratosaur very robust version is definitely a good answer, but generally the water types is going to be a lot more better because it can resist the hits. And of course, Stratosaur is not really the best very robust wise, so don't use that. Fiscarda, Barblast, Lunabi is really good because they can provide utility or power. If you want an offensive good wall to destroy Barbadger, then just use Barblast. And Obsidian is also decent as well because it can hit it super effectively with Body Crash. Do note that you probably want to run very robust and the Mysterious Dust, mainly because Barbadger can use your Body Crash against you with Dauntless, so just be wary of that. And of course, you do have your offensive counters and checks, which is simple. You just want to run stuff that can hit it super effectively and outspeed it. Do note that Cosmere Crack can actually switch in on Barbadger a little bit, just not a lot, without the setup of Broad Boost. So use Cosmere Crack if you do want to do that. But the others is very simple. They can outspeed it and they can hit it super effectively. Obviously, other stuff like Zulog, Protagon, and Hunter, as well as Volcoloa, Vesperatsu, and Mare are decent answers because they can outspeed it. You just need to weaken the Lumion first in order to use those answers. Offensive teammates for Barbadger is pretty simple. You just want to run stuff that can hit super effectively the water types or just have great matchups against melee attackers in general. Usually Totem, Holvantic, and Maneki is what I would recommend for pretty much everyone because they can hit the water type super effectively and provide their own utility and power. Ikazune and Deladrix is also very good because they can outspeed all of them, run boots to outspeed the offensive counters checks, which is pretty good. So run these guys if you want to have some speed control, and run all of these or one of these guys if you just want to run stuff that can work well with Barbadger. Metatone is a special case here because it can't switch in, but it is slower than the rest. So do note that Metatone might not be contributing the best to what it can actually do. And finally, we have the defensive teammates, which is mainly just defensive Lumions. Because Barbadger's typing is kind of weak to most of the meta typings, using meta defensive cores is going to be your best bet. Personally, I would prefer Searonite, Fiscarda, Cetamars, and T-Rex, but obviously you can just run whatever you want as long as it synergizes well with Barbadger. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the conclusion and my closing statements on Barbadger. So overall, Barbadger looks to be a very strong Lumion. Because its melee attack might be a little bit deceiving because it is a bit low than other wall breakers, it makes up for that with its strong coverage. I haven't shown a graphic on this, but do note that almost half of the metagame gets hit super effectively by this thing. Yeah, almost half. And when you count that with the fact that this has broad boost and a decent speed tier, this is going to be doing a lot. Now, if you do want outspeed stuff, then run boots, but then it loses broad boost, so you don't really know what to run. And because of its coverage being so good, it does probably not going to get a lot of coverage in the future. But Barbadger looks to be a very strong Lumion. I could see this thriving in a lot of bulkier offensive style teams, which will be very good against sub-style teams, which is what I'll be using Barbadger for. But generally, Barbadger looks to be a very good Lumion, probably in the A tier at minimum. I cannot see this thing going down unless there are very oppressive Lumions that could take this out of the meta. So yeah, this is just my opinion. If you enjoyed, then like the video and subscribe. Support the channel if you want to see more videos like this. More videos on the Christmas event Lumions will be coming out. And of course, remember that Zulog is still a dumpster fire.